Tony Khan is apparently not happy in AEW, and we got to talk about this right here on TAS. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ango Show. Don't forget about the giveaway that we got going on. Let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday while I was live on YouTube, there was some breaking news that Matt Hardy was in attendance for WWE Raw. And it was funny because I posted the video on my Twitter. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, I have one which is my personal account at Ango PW, and then I also have at the Ango Show, which is a new Twitter account. But nonetheless, I posted this video of Matt Hardy sitting inside of a suite at WWE Raw. Now, obviously, it wasn't too far from where he lived. A lot of people were wondering what the hell is going on. Why is Matt Hardy there? Is Matt Hardy in talks with WWE? If you guys were watching my live stream, this is your official update. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that Matt Hardy did not have a meeting with WWE officials. Matt Hardy showed up to the event with his wife, Rebby, because Rebby's friend had invited them to sit in their suite, and they were there for about 90 minutes. Currently speaking, Matt Hardy is in negotiations, obviously, with AEW. He's been pretty open about this on his podcast. We have been covering it on this channel as well. I think it's important for people to understand that it's a very valid question to question why Matt Hardy is at WWE Raw. But at the same time, too, I did mention this in the live stream. He could just be visiting friends and be watching his friends. And look, the tribalism that exists online does not exist within those locker rooms. I think everybody knows this. Everybody knows that the wrestlers support each other. The tribalism that exists online, it just needs to go away. It never will. But at the end of the day, it's just what it is. So Matt Hardy obviously supporting his friends and being there with his friends and stuff like that. Totally cool. Does this mean that maybe Matt Hardy comes back to WWE? Look, you never know. I think you'd be a fool to dismiss it because I think anything is possible in wrestling. I think if you're Tony Khan, you should try to maximize the Hardy Boys one last time. It's very difficult, as I've said in previous videos, with Jeff Hardy kind of being an issue, but Matt and Jeff are legends. They deserve a final send-off. Wherever that may be, we'll see. Whether it happens in WWE or AEW, I truly don't know. But I do think they deserve a final send-off. I personally thought we were going to get a final send-off from them years ago. Then they came back. Then, they went to AEW and stuff like that. So it's obviously very difficult to understand for sure what will happen next. But I think with Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy's contracts being different too, I don't know what Matt Hardy's value is in WWE, right? Again, we talk about bloated rosters all the time. I think you got to be very careful with who you are bringing into the company. And I think for Matt Hardy being in AEW, I think Matt Hardy, eventually going to a backstage role could be very likely. With that being said, let's keep it moving. Our next topic of today's video, we got to talk about Motor City Machine Guns because it looks like they could be leaving TNA Wrestling, and this would obviously be a very big blow. I want to talk a little bit more about this in depth. PW Insider has reported that the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, will be working for Smash Wrestling in London, Ontario, on April 21st, the same date as the post-pay-per-view TV tapings for TNA Wrestling. This is actually really weird, and I think everybody's kind of making a good point about this online. That doesn't typically happen in TNA. If you're working the pay-per-view, you are typically working the tapings after. Now, the report noted that the belief among some that they have spoken with is that Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin's existing TNA deals are expiring shortly, possibly as soon as the end of March. By them working the indie show instead of the tapings, it may indicate that a deal is not expected to be reached between the two sides. Now, you have to keep in mind, this doesn't mean that they are 100% leaving TNA, but it also doesn't mean that they are in fact staying with TNA, and at some point they could get into a new contract. Now, this is very interesting to me because Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley have been booked extremely well by TNA. For crying out loud, Alex Shelley was just holding the World Championship belt, which for a long time, a lot of people didn't know if that would ever come to fruition. Obviously, Chris Sabin has held the World Championship before, but he was holding the X Division Championship. So we see that these guys are utilized weekly. We see these guys are a very big part of TNA's history, and they should be a big part of TNA's vision going forward. Scott D'Amore leaving TNA kind of left a lot of people feeling a little bit bothered, right? And I don't know if this was related onto the talent. I don't know if the talent feel the same way, but I know from a fan's perspective, a lot of people have talked about TNA and just kind of, it seems like every time something good is about to go down, something bad brings it down. And now it kind of looks to be the case. What I would rather argue, though, is that Motor City Machine Guns and TNA, that is where they should be, right? If you're looking at what's best for the industry and what is best for the growth of TNA, Motor City Machine Guns should be there. I don't think there's a better fit for them. They've been doing a wonderful job in TNA. Now, let's say TNA, and more specifically Anthem, the parent company, don't want to give them the money that they deserve. They don't want to give them a raise. They don't want to do things for them to lure them into a new contract, right? And this is hypothetical. Let's keep that in mind. I'm saying hypothetically speaking, if Anthem is not interested in giving them more money or giving them the demands that they have, where should Motor City Machine Guns go? Now, in my personal opinion, I think tag team wrestling is sort of back between AEW and WWE. And truth be told, they would fit pretty well with either company. However, with AEW, I think their tag team division is on the rebound, but they have a little bit more work to do. And there's a lot of tag teams right now where I feel like a lot of them need to be given the TV time first. Now, in WWE, it's actually really interesting. NXT could benefit from having both of these gentlemen there, not only because they're veterans and they could help out all these other talents there, but because it would actually bring a little bit of notoriety and credibility to a developmental system that is pushing forward this new tag team division. So what I would actually prefer to see, if Motor City Machine Guns are leaving TNA, just hypothetically speaking, they should probably go to NXT, get a short run for 6 months, and then WWE should move them up to the main roster. And by that point in time, the main roster world tag title should be split between Raw and SmackDown. This would bring instant credibility to a tag team division. By them being on NXT first, it kind of allows the WWE system, for them to understand the WWE system, and then, of course, the WWE universe to kind of get a glimpse at them first. And I think Stand and Deliver would be the perfect debut for them. But that's just my opinion. We'll keep it moving. Hey, our final topic in today's video, we got to talk about Jack Perry. Tony Khan apparently still blames him for losing CM Punk. This is really interesting. Meltzer and Alvarez were talking about this. Obviously, we take everything they say with a grain of salt here, but it is interesting because, one, you have to wonder if this is part of the story. Is Alvarez and Dave being told this information because Jack Perry is being a heel in New Japan? I don't know. But basically, they're saying that Jack Perry is essentially what you need to know. Jack Perry is getting the blame from Tony Khan for the reason why CM Punk is not there. And obviously, Jack Perry has not been fired by AEW, but he's not being used by AEW. And this is all essentially due to Tony Khan being upset that Jack Perry is the one who pushed CM Punk away. Look, I think this is dumb. I think Jack Perry, Jack Perry and CM Punk, their beef, AEW All In, that was a long time ago now. Wrestling keeps moving forward. Why is this still being talked about in 2024? It is March 19th, 2024. CM Punk is in WWE, Jack Perry's in AEW. If Tony Khan believes that Jack Perry is the issue, then Tony Khan should have fired Jack Perry. And as you guys know, I truly believe that the truth is always in the middle. There's Punk's side, there's Jack's side, and then the truth is somewhere along the middle where both of them are somewhat right. But we don't pick sides on this channel. We're not there. We couldn't see it. So ultimately, Punk is no longer in the company. Why was Jack Perry suspended and Punk wasn't? At that point, it's like I said with the Elite versus Punk, right? If I didn't see it and I'm just going based off everything I heard, everybody should be gone. At the end of the day, this drama still being talked about in 2024 is absolutely mind-blowing. AEW has been really good this year. There's no need to talk about this. And I don't know if these articles are getting published because, again, AEW is just trying to feed the story of Jack Perry being a heel now. I don't know. I don't think it brings credibility to Jack Perry. This whole incident actually caused fans to turn on Jack Perry, and I don't think the heel turn is going to work out in his favor, but ultimately we'll see what happens. I truly believe this is just very silly at this point. If Jack Perry was the reason CM Punk's no longer in the company and Tony Khan is blaming Jack Perry, then Tony Khan, you actually need to be a leader. And if that offends people, that's just the way I see it. At the end of the day, you can't fire one and not fire the other if you still think this person's the reason why that person got fired. At the end of the day, this stuff should all be avoided. And if it's not being avoided and it's going down in your company, then everybody should take responsibility. But that's a problem today. People don't like to take responsibility. They don't like to be accountable for their actions. And I think if people are doing wrong, backstage and there's a fight between two people, there's not one that's worse than the other. They're both participating. They should both be gone. Ultimately, I look at this as, hey, move on from this. Get rid of this stink. There's no reason why this should even be talked about in 2024. AEW is doing cool stuff. Why does this have to ruin it? Peace.